See, I told you that was haunted. So anyway, hi everybody. It's March 25th, 2026, at 7:33. I'd like to call this meeting to order and see if those of you who looked over the minutes from last month, if anybody had any changes to those minutes. I don't see any hands, so I'll move that we approve the minutes.
Second?
And I would like to call this meeting to order. Second, I guess. We do it different every time. And let's get started right away. First of all, I would like to say I was sorry that we didn't have a chance to say goodbye to beloved Donovan Decius, who is now living in the endless summer that is southwest Florida on the West Coast in a beautiful location. He left the force after over 20 years, and we sure will miss him. But we're delighted to have you, Lieutenant Patchen. And what do you think's going on around town?
Not much. I wanted to pop in. I was actually, I think, the sergeant for a while when I was still a sergeant for the Southern District, and I think I used to hop on here. So now that Decius is gone, I just wanted to kind of hop on, introduce myself, and let everybody know that I am the Southern District Commander now. So if you guys have any needs or questions or issues, feel free to reach out. I know Philip has my contact info. I'll be wearing several hats because I also will be running our traffic, parking, PIO, social media, and a few other things that I continue to do. So I will be working the same hours as Lieutenant Decius. So I'll be working swing shift for a while, at least from 2:30 to 12:30. So might get to see me in person at some of the meetings once I transition, but that doesn't happen until April 5th. So just here if you guys have any questions. Has any officers regularly been attending, or where are we at with that?
It's as frequent as can be expected. So we're really
Okay.
satisfied with the response. Sometimes you guys are quite busy, but normally people do come and we get the information.
Okay. What I kind of like to ask, and I think I asked this as a sergeant, every, neighbor council is a little bit different. Is there specific information that you guys prefer is brought to you? Or is there, besides crime trends and stuff like that, is there anything in particular that you would like the officers or me to focus on when attending?
I'm going to segue, and then Edie, I see you have your hand up. I just want to mention something that I was going to mention later, but this is a good opportunity. Michelle Malam, I'm sure you're aware, Lieutenant Patcham, sent out a questionnaire to the community. Edie worked that up into a poll that we could easily answer, and she sent that out. So what we're doing in our neighborhood is we've sent that out to our 500 email list. And
Okay.
then when that comes back, it'll be an organized list that Edie or I will forward to Michelle Malam. And what that particular poll did was ask you for the specific main problems in your neighborhood and
Okay.
specifically where they were taking place. Uh,
Okay.
so it tends to be the same in our neighborhood in general. So that's going to be a good answer to that question to see
Okay.
where the hotspots are. Edie will send that out again. Either it's going to go out during this meeting, but you will have it in your mailbox, your inboxes for the second time tomorrow morning. So if you haven't taken time to fill out that few-minute questionnaire, please do take a moment, and then Edie will compile them like next week and we'll send them forward. The more specific questions seem to revolve around what is happening at the Todd Hotel, which you may be familiar with on the
I
railroad
am.
tracks at East Richmond. As we do get the general stats about crimes in our neighborhood. They tend to be pretty similar, but usually the officers will tell us if there's an uptick, for example, in the Hyundai thefts. That was useful knowledge for people who had Hyundais that there was kind of a trend. So if they do see a trend in our neighborhood, I think we like it. Edie, did you have a question or comment? You're muted.
Actually, I was about to just address that, so you took care of it. But I will ask Lieutenant Patchen, and this is purely off the cuff, are you related to anyone in Martinez, California?
So I know I used to work for the sheriff's office. I worked there for 15 years prior to coming here, and I used to actually work in Martinez. So I'm familiar with the Patchen School and stuff like that. What's interesting is my name is Donald Patchen. There are 18 of me in the state of California alone. I thought I had a unique name. It's apparently a common name. I know there's a Donald Patchen in Oakley. I actually do not know the Patchen family from Martinez, but I have seen the school and I know they're kind of around out there, but I'm not familiar. I mean, there's probably some familial, lineage there, but I am not familiar with them.
I'm a graduate of the school, so I was just
Okay.
asking. So thank you for letting
Yes.
me
I
know.
used to go to alarm calls at the Patchen school, and people used to give
That's
me a hard
weird.
time that it
And
was my school.
rightfully so. And we will leave
Yes,
it at
yes.
that.
Mostly when
Yep,
Edie
yep.
was there. Anna, you had a question.
Uh, welcome, Lieutenant Patchen. Just when he had said what we'd like to stay on top of or hear about, I've definitely noticed an uptick in the houseless population downtown. Many times when I would drive by in the evening, we've put in some beautiful benches across from the park. And lately, on those benches, people have been sleeping at midnight, or they've been sleeping at the bus stop at the corner across from Roma Cafe. So just keeping on top of, and I don't know if police officers are there, if they can ask, people are not allowed to publicly sleep on a bench. I don't know if that's legal or not, and you have to leave them be. But I've just noticed a lot more frequently in the last, I'd say, month. That's all.
Hmm.
Thank you.
Okay. I can probably put that on the graveyard people's radar there.
And I
And
know
I'm
that
just
for
gonna.
myself, I've called in two really serious welfare checks with people convulsing or appearing to OD on that corner.
Okay.
Both of them were on that corner during the daytime, though. So we definitely have an influx of unhoused people. And I'm working with Michelle, by the way, on that. So to the best of
Okay.
my ability.
Yeah, when it does come to unhoused population, there's certain approaches the city has, so it depends. It's kind of a case by case basis as far as what we can do to address it. So I'd say we'd have to, if you have a concern, feel free to call in, and then an officer can go out and basically address that situation to determine whether enforcement action would be appropriate, whether it's actually more of a referral to one of the organizations that offer housing or services or what, because it really is kind of a case by case basis. I did just drop my email and my desk phone number into the chat also for the people that would like it.
Thanks. Any other questions before we let our boy in blue, our man in blue, go?
One last question, and this may very well be that we bring you back for a meeting of some kind. Um, and it's nothing I've ever brought up before, but bringing up the homeless situation and seeing unhoused people, the influx of them in the last month has brought to mind that it has, man, I hate to mention this, but it is kind of an open secret that the Marin Sheriff's Department brings unhoused people to adjacent communities. It was
Okay.
documented in the Chronicle a few years ago about them dumping in San Francisco. And
I
it
do. I
has,
believe they got caught on camera, right? And so what I would say is, if you guys see any evidence of that, if you guys are able to take some pictures and get it to me, because in generally that's a big no-no. We don't do, taking our problems and dumping them in another jurisdiction. So if you guys are aware of that or able to get any photos of that occurring, definitely make me aware of it, because I will reach out to them if need be. It's just always better to have some type of photo proof, whether it be rumor, conjecture, or, I heard the grapevine. Photographic proof or some hard evidence is always great to have in hand to deal with issues like that.
all right,
It
good to
continue
know. Thank you.
it continues to be routine to see folks getting off the bus. As our neighbors know, we are the last stop from the bus to Oakland,
Hmm.
from Oakland, and the first stop over the bridge from Marin. So we do see unhoused people getting off and staying. Now, how they got there and decided to
Right.
come here is something that's a bigger investigation. And I will say, we're working with Michelle to have a coffee with a cop event,
Okay.
probably in the beginning of the summer at the community center in conjunction with a shredding event. So we're going to wait till well after tax time when everyone's got their taxes back, and then we'll have a we hope to have a complimentary shredding event. And then we'll do coffee with a cop, but we'll just do it in the community center or outside if the weather's nice.
I see that Councilmember Zepeda's on here, and I know he has a soft spot for our four-legged friends. I've been pitching to Michelle. I think we need to do a puppies and popos event instead of coffee with the cops, where we partner with the Milo Foundation and do an adoption event. So maybe that would be a good one to do at the community center. Try and loop them in and see if maybe we can turn that into an actual event with both of us participating.
That would be so cool. We have tents. We can do it in the dog park.
Yep. So I mean, whenever I do social media posts that have animals on it, everybody goes nuts for puppies and stuff like that. I think everybody likes our four-legged friends. So I had mentioned before with Milo, because they helped us out with a few, we had some strays and stuff like that we weren't able to get animal control. So I figured it'd be a good partnership with them. They can hopefully get some dogs adopted. I thought puppies and popos was kind of catchy, and we can get community members involved also.
It's not nearly as catchy as Popo, puppies, and pizza, which we can offer as well. So there you go.
That could also be an option. So,
all righty. Any more questions? All right. Thank you so much. It's nice to see you again, Lieutenant Patchen.
Good to see you again. Good to see you. And then, if you don't mind, just including me in those survey results. If you don't mind just sending those, if you can CC me when you send those to Michelle,
sure.
when you have the results. Sound good?
Sure. So again,
right.
Neighbors, look for that poll. If you haven't filled it out already, it'll be in your mailbox tomorrow morning, and forward it to your friends. They don't have to be on our list to answer it. So we can be very specific about your challenges. Now it's a couple minutes of me. The Spring Fling is going to be this Saturday. It is at the Pram Club.
You muted yourself.
Apologies. No, apologies. I did that because I was muting a Lieutenant Patchen as he was leaving. And
no
sorry
worries.
about that.
We got it. We're back. So anyway, we're doing it at Pram this year. For those of you, many of you probably remember, it started small on the tennis courts, and then we teamed up with Pram, who was doing something the same weekend one year, and that didn't make sense. Then we moved it to the street, and that got more and more popular to the extent that I think we saw somewhere between 700 and 900 people last year at Spring Fling. It was too difficult for us to control, and it is not really the goal of the PRNC to entertain the entire Bay Area. So what we did is we brought it back, and we can't afford it, quite honestly. And the bottom line, and really just so you know, because there's been a lot of questions about it, parents from out of town consumed between 600 and 700 of our 1,000 Easter eggs before the children were released. And that was it for me, because those were not our parents. And so the children went without, and one lady had, I think, an IKEA bag. So we're going back to basics again. This is the way it started when Peter was president, and I think it was the vice president, Dave's project. Dave Blackinger had little kids. So it's going to be fabulous. It's just going to be local. We'll start at Pram at 10:30. The library will have arts and crafts. They'll make hats for the children, and then there'll be some Easter bags or let's say decorated bags for the egg hunt that's coming. The official event starts at 11 o'clock. Fairy Coda will be there with free glitter tattoos, which we hired her. We've got a DJ. We'll do the egg hunt. We'll do what we call cake walk. We'll do the bunny hop. There'll be children's games. There will be pizza while supplies last. Then there will be an adult and children's fancy hat competition at 1 o'clock. The thing will be over at 1:30 and easy for us to break down. And then the library is the hosting at its own location. Just take a little walk down a couple blocks. They're going to have a bunny petting zoo at the library. So that'll just follow up. So that's Spring Fling. Please bring your friends. Please do not send this out to Berkeley Parents Network. Okay, we're not doing that this year. So local people and their friends and the kids from the school and Pram are very welcome to attend. And we're going back to the neighborhood feeling about it. There was, and this is one of the reasons some of you came on earlier, noticed that the PRNC officers were trying to set up a meeting amongst ourselves for next week. It came to our attention because somebody put a beach umbrella of some kind at the corner where the crossing guard sits. It was not to code, and the city removed it. And we knew they were going to remove it because it kept falling on people and it was broken. So Margie and I kind of rushed, and the company that produces the bench also produces a shade structure. And so I looked into that, and we have a budget for it. So we'll talk at the board meeting, and then we'll announce that we believe we can put sort of a permanent metal mesh umbrella up above that corner crosswalk. So that's something I'm really excited about. And this is the reason I've been trying to get so much funding from everybody so that when a need is identified, we can respond. And in this case, we want to respond right away because it's hot and she's 84, I think. So she deserves a little shade. More to come on the umbrella. Our guest next month will be Jessie Marin from CSW, and she will be presenting the really official outreach for the bike lane discussions amongst our community. So sorry to say, good to say it's Jessie and we love her. Bad to say it's more bike lane talk. But we're going to get it right this time, I feel sure, because they won't take my calls at City Hall anymore. So I guess I've pissed off sorry, I beg your pardon. I think I've irritated all the right people. Let's hope. Caesar is here on April 11th. We'll have a District 2 meeting. He's been doing them for years now. It's our turn. We will also be offering or discussing providing refreshments. I feel relatively sure the board will vote for that. And so that's April 11th from 10 a.m. to 1 o'clock at the community center. And we will send out and amplify that notice as soon as we have a confirmation. This is not for show, folks. When you show up at these meetings and encourage your friends to show up at these meetings and you express your concerns to Caesar, sorry to talk in front of your face, Caesar, the next city council meetings, you find out that he has presented your concerns. And so this is very real and it's very social, and we'll have coffee and probably pizza. And so, again, that's April 11th from 10 a.m. to 1 o'clock. Meet with Caesar, meet other District 2, other neighborhood councils people will be there. So it's really good from 10 o'clock to 1 o'clock. And that's all I have for you. And we can go report with Rudy Sullivan. Oh, I'm sorry, Lisa. Did you have a question?
I do.
Okay.
I was seeing the emails, and you and Charmaine may already be on this, which is Brentag is finally coming or wants to come forward for that new permit or tank or whatever. And this is a perfect opportunity for us to have the emergency services person again come in and address the emergency evacuation route through the Honda port of entry, which I just confirmed again 2 weeks ago, does not have a Knox box locks.
Of course not. Of
I
course not.
just confirmed it, and I have the photographs and I have a video. It is still not there. And they want more tanks over there, whatever they're trying to do. And the city has to be forced to enforce their own law.
Right. Yeah, it's really frustrating. And I think most of you who were here at the last meeting or the one before last might have noticed how my impression was the fire chief was actually openly hostile to being called out on that. That was my interpretation. He certainly was not what I would expect a fire chief to be expressing when the community was concerned about fire-related stuff. So
Well, I don't
thanks
know
for
when
pointing that out.
yeah, I just saw the emails. I think the
Yeah.
first time they responded, I just wanted to know if it's going to the LUDRC first, Charmaine, or who, because he's been addressing Rod, and I don't know if Rod's gotten back to him.
Hey, Lisa,
Yeah.
here you
Do you
go.
know, Charmaine?
What is it? Keys to that gate on Cutting?
I don't know, maybe.
Charmaine.
Right. So I was reading through the email and I think that I missed something somewhere along the line because I was not able to follow this. So I am not up to date on it. So I don't know when you want to discuss it, but we got to start more from the beginning. So
Thanks. So Peter and Charmaine as our liaisons with the LUDRC, can you take that off my plate, please? Because I am real busy. And then
That-
just tell me what you need me to do.
Yeah,
And there, Charmaine,
maybe,
there
maybe,
are some historical emails on that. I mean, this is more, they're coming back like it's been more than a year. So I
yeah,
can go back and I can look and I can forward you whatever I have.
yeah, that'd be
Okay,
great.
great.
And I was just wondering, maybe Peter knows more at this point?
Lisa, board members, can we take this offline?
Yes. Yeah,
Thanks. Let's
so
take it offline because
Lisa, yeah,
we have a busy meeting today.
yeah, so send me the emails and I'll send them around to LUDRC and we'll see what we can do. But is
Okay.
this about the port?
No,
Oh, okay. What's the location then? That's
It's
my
the
top of-
tanks.
yeah, I think it's near Wharf Street. It's in that whole area where all those tanks are.
Okay, let's take it offline because the rest of everybody, including me, doesn't know the details. Okay, because I want to move on. We have a lot today, and we really want to hear from the watershed. Margie, you're up. Margie, you're muted and you're up.
There we go. I'm Scott. She's local. Her name is Sherry Cowell, lovely lady. And we
So you're breaking up, Margie. Can we try again? Can't understand you.
I think.
According to her icon, she's still muted.
Margie, can you unmute? I think
No.
we're hearing somebody else.
No, she's not. She's not unmuted. She has connectivity issues.
Okay, we're going to skip Margie and go on to Eric.
Hi, good evening. Not much to report tonight. No new members, so we're still at 206 paid active members. Folks continue to pay their dues. We appreciate that. If you have any questions about membership, please reach out. That's it. Thank you.
Folks, if you'll allow, Margie sent me her notes and I am going to read them because there's a little bit about it. Yikes. Or I'm going to try to remember them from heart. Because almost everything that we paid out this month involves spring fling. So what the PRNC paid out was $450 for cleanup around the Pram schoolyard or the Pram clubhouse in order to prepare for the spring fling. And that included remulching with the expensive playground mulch, the area around the swing sets and stuff. So the Pram yard looks fantastic. So that was $450. And then we had and I can't remember the numbers off the top of my head. We had approximately $360 for the supplies and the eggs and the candy and all the prizes and everything we needed, the supplies for the event. So that was like just 457, like $800 ish. Sorry, I can't do math because it's hard. And then we paid $400 to hire the entertainers. That includes the DJ who is working for half price and Fairy Coda, the glitter tattooed chick who's going to work for half price as well. In exchange, we were able to get a grant for $1,000. So by doing the cleanup as a community event and sponsoring that cleanup, we were able to get more money back than we spent on the event. So for the first time, Spring Fling is not only going to be a fun party, but there was a lasting long-term benefit to our local community children's organization. And I will note that $500 of the money we spent was our dumpster day donations from the community. So we got a really good deal and we were able to do long-term good. And with a little creativity, I think we can put in a nickel and get back a dime. And I think this is a really good example. Margie's back. I just did a off the top of my head version of what we talked about this morning. And are you able to finish up, Margie, or should you want me to just finish?
I think we got it. I mean,
Okay, and I didn't mention we do have the bookkeeper, Cheryl Powell, is on and rolling. So she is starting to compile our records. We're going to have a complete, sort of basically a QuickBooks version of our records. She is discounting her fee by half as well. So the initial setup's going to cost a bit because she has to spend a lot of time. And then we anticipate about $600 a year for her services now that we're 501(c). So that's the end of. Thank you for allowing me to be Margie. Sorry to. I really
No
had
problem.
this was your day to shine, Margie. And now, not too late, a normal amount of lateness. I would like to welcome and introduce Nama Raja Seeth, and sorry, my brain stopped working. Kaylee Pearson, who are going to discuss sea level rise on behalf of the watershed. Welcome to our neighborhood.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. So we have a slide deck, and is it possible for me to share my screen?
Please.
Okay, let's see. Oh no. Zoom is not
Maybe.
going to let me.
Oh, we actually
Let
have
me
a lot of
adjust
people.
the share settings to ensure that you can do that.
I think it might be on my end. Let me try to quickly solve that problem.
Kaylee, was that what you sent me yesterday? Was that everything?
No.
Oh,
Here, let
okay.
me, I just reset my settings and I'm going to leave the meeting and join back up.
Okay, that's great. In the meanwhile, perhaps we can get an introduction to the watershed and the work that they're doing. Nama.
Thank you so much, Philip. Welcome, everyone. There's some familiar faces here. So my name is Nama. I work at the Watershed Project. The Watershed Project is a Richmond-based nonprofit. We've been around for nearly 30 years. We're celebrating our 30th anniversary this summer. We work to better connect communities to their watersheds. We have K-12 education component, restoration component, green infrastructure work, but this specific work that we're leading under the community Climate Ready Communities division, what we're doing is we are working on planning projects that reduce the impact of sea level rise, especially in climate change as well. And this specific project is done under the city of Richmond. Kaylee, stop me if you're up again. I can't see you, so just let me know. I don't see her yet, right?
She's entering
No.
right now.
Okay. And Kaylee will give you a short presentation about the project. Sally, who's online as well, is very well involved, as is Caesar. So I'm really happy to see both of you here. Yeah,
Yay!
here it is.
Sorry about that, folks. That was my bad. So yeah,
No worries, no bad, just life.
we will get right into it then. And I'm not sure what Nama shared.
I just gave an introduction to the Watershed Project.
Perfect. So yeah, I'm Kaylee. I am our community outreach coordinator, and I'm joined by Nama, who's going to be taking notes on this very important topic. All right, and can everyone? Nope, I don't want that.
You were in full screen mode, and that looked great.
Okay. It's always difficult being on Zoom, so bear with me. But yeah, we're really excited to be here, and you can all see my screen. Correct. Okay. This is a really relevant topic to Richmond and specifically the Point Richmond neighborhoods. So it's great that we're here talking to you about this plan, the Richmond Sea Level Rise Adaptation and Resiliency Plan. So I'll be talking about 15 minutes or so and presenting on this. And at the end, Nama's going to share a PDF with some maps that we just want you all to briefly go over, but also save and maybe take your own time to review them because it is a lot of information and it's very important. And we want to make sure that your voice is heard in this plan because the main goal of us joining you all today is to get your feedback and report back to the design team. So throughout the presentation, please feel free to raise your hand to ask any questions or make comments in the chat. Nama's going to be taking detailed notes.
I just want to
So-
make you aware that you are not in the screen that has the full screen mode. You are in another tab in the original tab.
Gosh.
So I don't think if you forward the screen that you'll actually be forwarding for us.
Okay. I'm so sorry.
That's all right. This is my full-time job.
I should definitely be better at Zoom than I am, but we've had like 5 years at this point. Okay. I'm just going to share my whole desktop.
That would work. And if you go to
Okay,
full
you can see
screen,
that now.
perfect. That
Okay.
works beautifully. Thank you.
Awesome. So, the project's overview, goals, and timelines. So this is the Richmond Sea Level Rise Adaptation and Resiliency Plan. And the project purpose. Richmond is a really unique city in California in that it has 32 miles of shoreline, which is the most of all the Bay Area cities. And with this much shoreline, Richmond faces increasing risks from sea level rise, which threatens community well-being and environmental health. So in response, the city is launching a community-driven effort to develop a shared vision and clear pathway for implementation that'll build resiliency for Richmond residents against coastal flooding. So there's relatively new California legislation that requires local governments to create a plan to sea level rise by 2034. And the unique part of Richmond Sea Level Rise Plan is that the city is really focusing on gathering community input in the plan. And that's why we're here today. So the plan has multiple partners working on different aspects. So Mithun is the design team, and then myself and Nama, we represent the Watershed Project, and we've been contracted out for the outreach component. So going to different neighborhood councils and organizations throughout Richmond, spreading the word, getting input, making sure that all of your voices are heard in this plan. And then we have ESA and other organizations that are involved in design engineering or surveying or permitting specialists. So there are many people working on creating a climate resilient Richmond, and that's very comforting. So the project's currently in the beginning stages. We're now confirming vulnerable assets. So this includes us reaching out to community members to ask what is important and what we're missing when we identify vulnerabilities on the maps that we'll share with you later. And then later this summer and fall, we'll be starting to look for adaptation responses. So specifically, what can we start doing? And some of the responses include building structures, some adjusting land use and utilities, just to name a potential few. And oftentimes these plans, from like the conception of the idea to the actual building of these adaptation responses, it can take up to 10 years. So the plan, the writing of the plan, the designing, the permitting, the renegotiating of funding, all of that, that can take a really long time. So the thing about climate change is that we don't have time to waste. And so the time to act really is right now. The plan's also a great opportunity for development. And this graphic pictured is an example of a nature-based solution called a horizontal levee that is essentially a natural wall, if you will. But we can't just build a structure that is 32 miles of shoreline back from the, to hold back the water. So we need to prioritize areas to protect and how to mitigate the rest of the shoreline. And this will include things like changing land use policy. So should we be able to continue to build so close to the shoreline, or should there be regulations on that? reassessing transportation adaptation and emergency response and flood management. So here's an example here in this graphic of a structure that can be built that is an opportunity to benefit the community using nature-based solutions, while also serving the community as a place for recreation. So this is a multi-beneficial structure that can increase our value of life while also protecting us. So this is just one of many options that we have. So why is this happening? Why are the seas rising? Why is this impacting our community? And I hope it's no surprise that the answer is climate change. Global warming is primarily caused by human activity. This is pretty well known and accepted across scientific fields. And it's mainly burning fossil fuels like coal, oil, and gas for energy, which releases heat and traps it in the greenhouse gases like carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and it intensifies that heating. So since the Industrial Revolution, we've seen an increase in 2 degrees Fahrenheit, which might not seem like a lot, but on a global scale, that's a really significant amount. And most of this warming's happened just in the past 40 years, with the most recent decade being the hottest on record. And I don't think that's a surprise to many of us. I mean, just this March here in the Bay Area and across the nation, we've been experiencing like unprecedented heat. It's not supposed to be 80 degrees in March. So that's an impact that we're already experiencing. And so as the world is heating up, so is the ocean. And the reason the sea level is rising is because of the melting ice sheets adding volume to the ocean. But not only that, thermal expansion increases that 40%. So as ocean water warms, it expands, increasing volume. And over 90% of that excess heat trapped in the greenhouse gas in our atmosphere is absorbed by the ocean, because our ocean is what we call a carbon sink. So it sequesters, it takes in carbon, and this leads to the expansion and rising of the sea. So one thing I really want to emphasize is that there are different types of coastal flooding. And what we're really looking at here is compound flooding. So can you all see my cursor just hovering over mean sea level? So this is what we experience daily average. And then we have high and low tide, and that fluctuates naturally. And then we have king tides as well. Those happen 2 times a year, and that's an extreme high tide. And on top of that, so compounding, we have storm surge. So storms mean flooding from wave action from the ocean rather than watershed flooding. And these 100-year storms that we talk about as worst case scenarios refer to that compound flooding. So average sea level, in addition to high tide, sea level rise, and storm surge. And that's where we get these 100-year storms that we refer to often when we talk about these predictions. It's important to note too that like sea level rise does not look like a tsunami. That's often a misconception. This is just compounding flooding with all of these natural components, but also storm surge and sea level rise thrown in the mix, and it's a big number. So because of this sea level rise, existing flooding conditions worse with the loss of habitat as well as the loss of amenities on the shoreline, just to name a few. So the king tide event that I had mentioned earlier. So in this picture, we have the marina on a normal tide day. And then a lot of you probably experienced this back in January and February, and the tide was all the way up to the Bay Trail. Another picture of this is the boardwalks completely covered. And this is what the predictions will say a normal day could look like by the end of the century. Something that often gets overlooked too when we talk about sea level rise is groundwater rise. So this can affect areas that are remote from the shoreline. So the impact can be regional and affect houses in the hills and the road system and our wastewater systems. So if you're a house up here in the Richmond Hills, your pipes, they need to flow downstream, and they can be affected by groundwater intrusion, and basements and drainage systems could flood. In our roads, we've often seen the area around our main highways flooded, and that would continue to worsen if groundwater beneath it is weakening that structure. So this graph, I want to spend a few moments on it because it looks complex. And just to break it down, so the horizontal axis here is the timeline from today to 2050 to the end of the century and beyond. And then on the vertical axis, we have how much sea level rise in Richmond specifically. And you see three different lines here. And it's important to note this is not different models, they're just different predictions based on how. So you can see in 2050 that sea level rise can be almost up to 2 feet. And this is worst case scenario in end of the century, could be around 7 feet. And that's hard to picture on a graph. But if we think about it in terms of, what did that king tide look like for us here in Richmond this past winter? That is kind of what the expectation could look like. So Richmond specifically, what vulnerabilities do we have to sea level rise and groundwater rise? So Richmond has a lot of assets that are vulnerable that need protecting. We have main bridges, the marina, the ferry terminal, we have the Bay Trail, and even larger things like the West County wastewater facility and even the Chevron refinery that are ones that our team have identified. And additionally, the rise will progress inward over time, having an impact inland. So some things at risk additionally are wetlands, and those are really important in combating climate change because they're carbon sinks. They sequester that carbon. Also our sewage and stormwater pipes. In this picture below, we see these pipes underground, and that's showing groundwater rising and infiltrating those pipes that are really important, flushing out things in our community. So emergent groundwater and even contaminated sites can be affected by the flooding and the contamination spreading. So like the AstraZeneca site is something that we want to consider. And all of this too, this is a very important map to consider. So nature has an interesting way of helping us reflect on the history of the land. And historically, a lot of residents haven't seen this map, but historically, this is what our city used to look like. This area here was a marsh, a mud flat that would periodically flood with the tides. Here in Point Richmond, this was all part of an island. And the city later filled this area in, but when you compare this map from 1895 to current day flood hazard maps, not surprisingly, areas prone to sea level rise overlap where it used to be a wetland back when this map was created. So I want everyone to consider this map when we start to look at the projections for the end of the century and 2050 as well. And also, before I show you the next map, which is kind of our main one, I want everyone to remember that these are just large-scale estimated modeled scenarios. So we don't know exactly what's going to happen, how much sea level will rise. These can fluctuate too with how much fossil fuels we continue to burn. And we don't know what the rise will look like from street to street. So again, these are just projections. But this is the map of what will be affected in Richmond, coastal flooding based on 100-year storms. So I've highlighted Point Richmond in red, and the dashed line is modern day flooding. So this is what we're experiencing day to day currently with no sea level rise. So modern day. The darker shaded blue is the projections for 2050. So that's up to 1 foot of sea level rise with that compounding flooding for a 100-year storm. And I'll go back to that historic map too. It looks very similar. The lighter blue, you start to see it's all the way up now in North Richmond. You're seeing it in Miller Knox, by our ferry terminal, in the marina. And that's with projected 6.6 feet of sea level rise. So this is the projection. And this is a bird's eye view it might be easier to understand looking at this cross section. So this is a great example that we have of a young boy and his father walking, for example, the Bay Trail. And you can see the current sea level is very much beneath the trail. And during storm surge, like the pictures from that king tide, it's right up to the Bay Trail. Maybe it touches their feet. By 2050, that little boy, he's grown, he's with his father. His father's an old man at this point, and the sea has started to rise. It's still not to the Bay Trail, but it's starting to get to their, their feet, their shins with storm surge. And then it really takes off by the end of the century. That young boy is now grown and he's standing in the same spot, and sea level is all the way up to his waist. And with storm surge, it's well above his head. So this is a good graphic kind of to understand, what could happen. So with that, we want to talk about vulnerable assets and priorities. And this is where you all really come in. So we're going to all of these community organizations and groups, and we want to hear from you. What's vulnerable? What are your priorities that you want to see when the city of Richmond writes this plan? So Nama is going to share in chat the maps. And when you look at these maps, they are similar to the one that I just showed you, but they include things like transportation, natural habitats, environmental justice communities. So all things who really, what are we dealing with right now? And what we want to know is, as you look at these projected scenarios, what is most vulnerable to sea level rise in your community? What do you think is most vulnerable, or what are you observing as most vulnerable? Also, what would you like to see happening on the shoreline in the future? So there are different ways that this plan can benefit us all. It can protect us from sea level rise, but it can also be amenities that increase our value or our quality of life. And then lastly, what additional information do you all need to better understand the situation? I threw a lot of information and big topics your way. And we want to know, how can this be more easily digestible, and what kind of questions do you all have for Nama and myself that we can help answer to make this easier to digest? So with that, I'm going to give everyone just maybe like a minute or two.
Kelly, can we ask people if they're able to download the maps?
Oh yeah,
The
definitely.
document that I uploaded to the chat. Are people able to download it or open it?
I believe that that would be more effective if you sent me a link or the maps that I could then forward to the community than
Yeah,
trying to pull it off of Zoom.
Right, we're happy to send that out to the community. Downloading can sometimes be a challenge here, but if anyone is listening, it is in the chat. There is the maps that are available for download.
So while the community is putting its thoughts together, I'd like to mention two things because I got these maps yesterday, so I had a chance personally to look at them. The first is how tied in this is to the Keller Beach sewer project that is a major infrastructure problem in our community because, as you said, the pressure on the pipes and the unpredictability of these pipes is really a challenge. And so I just wanted to point that out. And obviously, you've mentioned it more than once. Waste control changes when things flood. The other thing that we've discussed by email is that this is something that I would really like to see town halls about, where we can sit in the same room, and it doesn't have to be local, to the Point Richmond neighborhood. I am encouraging the watershed to reach out to us and let us amplify these meetings when they occur. I assume that you do have sort of bigger open town halls in person where it's easier to group up.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to extend that offer publicly. Kaylee and I have already been talking about it for a day or two.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
that's
you,
great
Philip.
to
Is
hear.
it okay if I respond to this?
Yeah, sure. This is a
So
neighbor council meeting.
Thank you. The outreach we're doing is multifaceted in order to reach as many people as possible. So we already had one wide community event back in December. We'll have another one at the end of the year. We also had one symposium, which was a full day of talks and discussions, and we'll have another one toward the end of this year. But in addition, what we're doing is we're reaching out to community organizations and neighborhood councils like yours, because you're a targeted community and we have this access. And thank you for offering to send the maps over. I think that will be really, really helpful. So I think you have them, Philip. I think that as you mentioned, you have them. So if you can forward them to everyone, that would be really helpful.
Okay, and
Also,
Edie and I will figure out a way to let people request these in a way that they can receive them easily.
yeah, let me offer you that it is much easier to send out polls and surveys with specific asks and specific answers that you require. So if you have any need to do that, we can easily do that, sending it out to the community, and we do get very good response when we do that.
That would be amazing. So here is the QR code and the link in the chat to a survey.
Yeah.
We did so recently for the city on something about when they did the neighbor to neighbor grants, they received 275 responses. 110 of them were from Point Richmond. So
amazing.
We have
You're
opinions.
an active community. We know that.
That is awesome.
We're
absolutely
largely senior citizens with time on our hands.
unafraid of letting you know exactly how we think. So please,
Well, that's exactly what we want.
If you have surveys, if you have specific asks, specific questions with specific answers, please let us know. I can put this together as a survey and send it out to the neighborhood.
Yeah. And I'll share this link with Philip to send to your email list as well. But this survey specifically is for folks that can't make it to some of these events, or, this is how you specifically can respond to all of these questions. So it's like 10-minute long survey. We're going to be doing a raffle on Earth Day for $5 $50 local business gift cards. So that survey is a great way for you to respond directly, and then we'll take that to the design team. And I will definitely reach out to your neighborhood council as well when we host our next citywide workshop. And in the meantime, too, we want to hear from you, any questions, comments, requests. And we have an e-blast list that we send out quarterly, and you can email me. I've included my email here below, and directly ask me those questions. Yeah, I'll go ahead and stop sharing the link to the survey now. Questions from everyone. There's a lot of information I threw at you.
Does anybody have any questions? I don't see any hands.
Yeah, I have one.
Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, so I used to live in San Mateo, and I know they built a pretty big seawall, I think in preparation for sea level rise. What are you showed one of these solutions of that kind of natural elevated barrier. I mean, these costs have to be just astronomical to address this. I mean, is there kind of a statewide strategy, or kind of what's the bigger? I know we're in early stages, and a lot of cities and entities are studying this. But I'm just curious, what San Mateo spent, or I know this city and county of San Francisco are doing a lot.
Haley, let me know if you want me to respond.
I'm just kind of
you might be more equipped to respond to this one.
I'm just kind of interested. I think it's an important issue to address, but kind of what are folks that are implementing solutions? How is this being funded?
Eric, that's a great question. And it's going to be a big tally on California in the upcoming years. So for now, what we're funding is the plan itself. Creating this type of plan is very expensive by itself, over $1 million. just to get to a place where we have a concept design, and then there's another funding round that will have to happen to make the detailed designs that are construction ready. So that's already a big expense, and it's taking money from other pools of money that the community needs. Usually, until now, most of at least the Bay Area communities that are creating the what we call the RCIP, the Sea Level Rise Resiliency Plan, Regional Resiliency Plan, is paid by the Ocean Protection Council, which is a California-based government. And then in addition to San Mateo, the other project that has already been funded for the implementation itself is actually for North Richmond. It's a 0.6 mile long project. That goal is to protect the West County wastewater district that is already being impacted by sea level rise today. So it's located between the Richmond refinery and Point Richmond, Point Pinole. And the cost of the implementation of that 0.6 mile horizontal levee is estimated to be around $62 million. So a lot of money. Yep.
Yeah.
But just one more sentence, that there has been cost-effective analysis studies that shows that the do nothing is much more expensive. Like, think of the operation cost of moving the West County wastewater facility, or the Richmond Parkway, or
Right.
any other big infrastructure, neighborhoods, all of that. So it's cheaper to deal with it now than the do nothing.
So this may be a weird question, but many years ago, I worked on a project where we were restoring some of the wetlands down in Bear Island, down in the Redwood City area and on the peninsula. And I think that I've kind of lost touch. I haven't been involved in this in a really long time, but I think there's, an ongoing effort to restore these marshlands. Does that mitigate any of this within the bay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So we are strongly pushing toward nature-based solution, which a big component of it is restoring marshes, because marshes not only sequester a lot of carbon, so they reduce climate change, but they also have capacity to mitigate wave action, and they have a lot of porous material underneath the water, so they have the capacity to absorb a lot of water during storms. So yes, marsh restoration is one of the tools that we have in our toolboxes under the nature-based solution toolbox. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Cool. Good question, Eric. I'm from Florida, where we have the mangrove swamps, and it's kind of the same story. Lisa?
Yeah, and I apologize if you went over this. I had to take a phone call for a second. So if you look at the sea level rise maps for Richmond, right, one of the most impacted areas is Canal and Cutting, and then 580 as it goes up. So when you have a large freeway like that, which is massively impacted, if you go, I think 3.5 to 4 feet is when you really start to see it. So who is expected to pay for that when you have a freeway that serves the entire Bay Area?
These are exactly the questions that we're dealing with. Like, how do we deal with regional impacts? As of now, the RSAPs, those regional plans, they're quite fragmented. So there's a project for North Richmond between the city, between the refinery and Point Pinole. There's a project for all of Richmond, which includes that. And then we're also working on another project for all of Contra Costa. Okay, so there definitely needs to be alignment. Governance is a big issue that we're thinking about, like who's going to deal with these new things that we'll build, and that has to do exactly with this question. Like we're bringing all the agencies that need to be at the decision-making table. For example, some of them are not very collaborative. You think about the railways, right? They just really difficult to work with. How are we going to deal with highways? And as of now, we're looking at a municipal level. So we're thinking of this will fall on the municipality. but the funds will come, there'll be state or federal funds. FEMA has been just releasing a big grant, $100 billion grant today. Actually, they released one, so we're all running after that.
So that's for nationally, all states on the shorelines. That 100 billion? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anybody
So
else?
prioritization is a big issue, and that's why it's really important to hear from community members.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked 100 billion. I'm actually shocked coming out of FEMA. They seem to be completely
I'm shocked that we
MIA.
still have.
Yeah, so that was actually encouraging news. So thank you for sharing that.
It came out today.
Well, one thing I will say has been both in a delightful manner and sometimes in an angry manner, depending on if I'm trying to get money, is that Richmond knows how to get grants. And so organizations like the Watershed, they know how to look for and get these grants. They know how to write these proposals, folks. It's not easy. And it's like sharks in bloody water when this money is released and everybody's jumping on it. So we were, for those of you who might recall, in the last meeting, I told you that the neighborhood council is struggling to or working to try to get some of the Chevron money. So I was able to go. I just want to say something nice about your organization, Naima. I went to a big symposium the other day to try to get together with some of these bigger organizations so we can get money from Chevron because Chevron is in our backyard. And I spent most of the time talking to your colleagues.
Natalie and Juliana.
Yeah. And this was different. This was about tree planting and greening and
right.
But there was a feeling of cooperation and really extending hands up because I'm not an expert on this. I'm just one guy up against, urban tilth, as a team to do this. So I just wanted to thank you. And that's why I was so excited, that to mention that we would see you the next week, or maybe that was
much
even
appreciated.
Monday. It might have been Monday. I can't all I'm learning on. It is Monday. Any more questions before we thank our guests and assure you that we will amplify and share the information about the upcoming ways that we can help and participate. All right. Well, thank you. Welcome to our neighborhood.
Philip, if I can say one thing. So from now on, we'll be sending you personally our e-blasts. And if you can share that with the crowd, that would be wonderful. And then you'll know about town halls, the next symposium that Sally will be involved with as well, all the workshops and all the...
one of the main things we can do is amplify to how to get people on your mailing list, because I can't amplify the dozens of emails I get a day. But
Sure.
I can, we can follow up on this meeting and make sure that people are talking about your organization and how to participate. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
That was great. Welcome to the Hood, and we look forward to seeing you in person. I'll buy the coffee. And anytime you want to walk around and see our sewage problems, be our guest. As we speak, there is a river of water washing down Washington Avenue and making that right-hand turn onto Nickel. And I think my car is going to float away. The fire department has been contacted. All right. Thank you, ladies. We'll see you next time around, and we'll share what you have to share. And thank you for opening our eyes to a lot of this. Yay. And let's move on with our meeting. And we'll go on to community briefs. Charmaine, do you have anything to talk about, sir?
I don't have any updates at this time.
Okay. History, HO.
She sent me to deal with this. She's not available, but anyway, the wigwag, the one wigwag that is it's been out of commission for quite some time. And the next 2 weeks, the banner is going to be back on the thing, and the thing will be complete.
Wonderful.
And another thing is Jim Davis, of course, our local history professor, is going to give another one of his lectures on April 1st between 6:30 and 7:30 p.m. about the Kaiser shipyards in World War II. That's definitely one of his favorite topics. Anyway, I'm trying to think, where the heck was that thing? Oh, it would be over there at the library, the community room. It's free admission. It's part of the Maritime Richmond Lecture Series. That's about all I have.
Thanks, James. They're excellent. The History Association put on the architecture of Point Richmond from the start to the mid-century modern jewels, and it was packed. There were cookies, and it was no pizza, but cookies. It was fantastic. So we're actually, a lot of the people have asked for more architecture. So if you're not attending those, come on down. Arts at Point Richmond, Margie, you've got a lot going on. You're muted.
Well, that's par for the course. The only thing that we have is the Arts of Point Richmond has got their banners are just about ready to come on back up. So there's the downtown's going to have a lot more. There's a show at Laura's Fine Dining, and Saturday after you cut some bunnies and do spring fling at 3 o'clock, John Worley is going to give us talk about his art, all of his murals and all at the gallery. That's all I got.
That's fantastic. For those of you who don't know John, he did the Point Richmond tunnel mural, of course, and dozens and dozens of the most famous murals around the state of California, but almost a ton of them locally. Thank you, Margie. Kate, you around? I heard from Kate today, but she didn't send me an update. Layla, did we lose her?
No, I'm here. Hi, just wanted to give a big thank you to the neighborhood council for the spring fling and all that you guys are doing this year. I'm glad to have it back, a little smaller community style, and a little concerning about that flood zone with the school and pram being in that zone. Years to come, my kid will be too old by then, but still very concerning. But again, thanks. We'll hope to see you everyone on this Saturday.
Yeah. It's going to be a good time. We always need help at setup time, sometime around 9:30, even though the event doesn't start until 11, and at breakdown time at 1:30. If you have an extra set of hands or can send a sturdy friend of yours. Anything from Brickyard Cove, either homeowners, either Lisa or Charmaine? Any news? Nope. Well, we are on time. And it's all about Charmaine and the LUDRC.
Okay, so there is a little bit of error in the agenda. Instead of 0 Tunnel Avenue, it should say Terrace.
My fault. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. So it's minor. But I just want to mention to everybody that it's a process to come before the Land Use Design Review Committee, have all your, if you're an owner of a property and you want to improve it or build new, and you need to come before the Richmond Planning Department, but then you need to come to our Land Use Design Review Committee first. It's a process, and a lot of people don't know this process until they're in the middle of it. And you may not ever have to do it again in your life. So right now with 0 Terrace Avenue, the owner is trying to come up with all the documentation, all the plans, and where the LUDRC is asking a lot of detailed questions. So people are still concerned about the slope of the hill and the water drainage and those things, which I've brought up before. So the list is about, I don't know, let's say about 10 things that they need to produce. What we need is the the plans, the drawings, the notes. So we need the paperwork to be there so that we can peruse it and ask the questions and be clear about what their intentions are. So far they've been verbalizing a lot, but we need the document. So that's where we are with that. So we need to show the house construction. Also, another item came up is there's a tree on the property line that needs to be preserved. So we need documentation on that. The orientation of the building, information about the stairs that lead down to Scenic Avenue, the water drainage plan, more information about the retaining walls. And another item came up is there might be a possible fence on the property line. So there's a lot of things that we still need to get from them, and they're hoping to get it to us pretty soon. But we intend to have another meeting for discussion, an LUDRC meeting on April 28th. It's the last Tuesday of April. So we had a good meeting. We had a good attendance. And they are now contacting all the people in their neighborhood, which we needed them to do. So that's really good. So that's where we are with that. So stay tuned, and hopefully we'll be able to bring that project to you next month or the one after. I'm just not sure how it will go.
Thanks, Charmaine. I know you have to decide. I just wanted to wrap up real quick. This is a reminder that we are a step to the planning department. So obviously all these technicalities are going to need to be presented to the planning department because we are advisory only. But the important task that we do is we get all of that out of the way. So we are useful to the applicant because they're going to need to answer those questions for the city. So because our board is particularly skilled, we can help them to get ready to make these presentations and at the same time express our neighborhood concerns. So thanks again to Charmaine and company. And I think I'm sorry, cut you off. Go ahead.
Right. So I have one more thing to say about the LUDRC, and that is that we're very happy to welcome a new member who's actually very well qualified. And this is John Peterson, who you can see online here. And he asked, I want to introduce him, but I'm going to say a few words about him. Basically, he's had 30 years of civil engineering experience and has worked in transportation, structural engineering, and worked on bridges and retaining walls and worked on large dam and water projects, as well as EPA cleanup of a Superfund site. So he has lots of knowledge. And he also has lived in Point Richmond since 2014. And he personally has gone through the LUDRC committee and the Historical Preservation Commission review process for a large renovation on his 1903 home. So he understands this from many angles, including engineering. And we're very happy to have him on our team. So I don't know, John, do you want to say anything?
Thank you, Charmaine. Yeah, my partner and I, we really love it here in Point Richmond, and really happy to be able to get back something. So, thank you.
Great.
We're really grateful and excited to have you. It's great.
And that's all I have.
Thank you very much, and welcome, John. Maskers? Anybody want to comment? I think they're doing Little Shop of Horrors. Peter, do you have a comment?
No, I just have Cordell's thing. No, I was just moving one of my birds. She keeps standing in front of the little camera there on my computer.
It's a ham, that one. So Maskers, all I can say is I can't remember the name of the last show, but it was hysterical. We went to see it, and I think it's Little Shop of Horrors next. But I may be mistaken. So keep an eye on the building because those banners are out there. Cordell reports to Peter from the Richmond Coordinating Council.
That I do have. Let me call that up here. if I can get my parrot. She keeps standing on the camera on the laptop. Come on, move over there. Okay. Now let me get. Nope, she's doing it again. Okay. Anyway, Cordell said that a recap from the meeting. They had Tim Sabrante to talk about building trades council and having women on the board. City staff reported on their reports, presented their reports. No old business. Under new business, he proposed to have Caltrans come at a future time to address the medians under the freeway, and also have BNSF come and address regarding trains in the middle of the night. And that was Cordell's report.
Thanks, Peter. Nothing
Okay.
was served. No food was
No.
served. Gary texted me. Richmond tennis is in a match right now. I wished him good luck on behalf of our community. Graham's not here. Anybody know what's going on at Red Oak? Okay, the universe provides us catching up on time when we run late. Women's West Side, Julie. Okay, I don't
Hi,
see.
it's me. It's Julie. Sorry about that. Anyway, we've been busy. We're gonna have a table at Spring Fling, so we'll see you there. And we have a gardening event in downtown at the Triangle on March 31st from 10 to 12, but it looks like there's an 80% chance of rain, so we might need to reschedule. We'll just wait and see. Also, we've chosen our charities to support for the year, and those are the Washington Elementary PTA Reading Program, Music and Art. In addition to that, we have the Milo Foundation, and the third one is the Bay Area Rescue Mission Women's Shelter. And that's all, and we'll see you Saturday.
Thanks, Julie. And I did send an email forward to your colleagues on the board that Chevron is actually looking for volunteer opportunities at the beginning of April for the first 2 or 3 weeks, because April is volunteer month. So particularly if you get rained out, you may be able to coordinate with Chevron to send a bunch of people over to help with your garden cleanup. So Doreen and Diane and Ruth all got that email.
Okay, and my question is if I'm at the point person, should I reach out to you to reach out to Chevron?
Just ask them to forward, ask Doreen to forward the email, because the Chevron representative is on that email.
Okay, thank you so much.
You could maybe get a dozen people, and
Yes, I'll do that.
But I know that I don't pull weeds and cut down twigs the way I did when I was a sturdy person in my youth.
Okay, thank you.
Ping pong with Peter?
Yes. So this Monday we had, including myself, 10 people. So I'm always encouraging people to stop by. It's a lot of fun every Monday night from 5 o'clock to whenever you want to leave at the Point San Pablo Yacht Club on West Cutting Avenue. So just drive up to the gate and push the button. And you don't have to be a ping pong pro to play. It's mostly a social club with ping pong and wine and beer. That's it.
I think the ping pong has become an excuse, Mr. Taylor. And then anybody specifically for Rosie, or should we just go off James' comment about the upcoming lecture? Sounds like Jim's lecture on April 1st at the library is that news. Anybody want to introduce themselves or have any comments they'd like to comment on for public forum? Don't see any hands. Any remembrances or celebrations? Margie, you were mentioning. Oh, I'm sorry. Anna had her hand raised. Anna? Okay, sorry, my screen.
I am muted. It's kind of a remembrance and a celebration. I don't know, most folks know Mom and Pop is closing. I know many folks are sad about that. It was a wonderful addition to our downtown and just a magnet for a lot of fun and funky people. And I think their last day is April 1st, and they are having, I think it's this Friday, kind of a goodbye celebration in the community from 6 to 9 with a DJ, and I think they're going to do an auction and stuff. But anyway, I know they're not on. Kelly doesn't come here, but I just wanted to thank them. I think they've been here 10 years, and it's before I lived here, I used to come here to shop at there. So anyway, I just wanted to celebrate what they've done for our community.
That was a good call from our friends and business in our community. Layla. And then I see your hand, Marty.
I don't know if it was said last month, I missed the meeting, but our neighbor on 57 Scenic, Marjorie Moore, passed away in February. And she had lived here. My mom moved here in 99 or 2000, and she had already been here, I think, a year. So she was definitely a part of the neighborhood. So I'm just going to remember our dear neighbor, Marjorie Moore. Thank you.
There you go. And Edie has her hand up, and then Marty.
Yeah, I want to give a little bit of a shout out to the fact that we got mentioned in the Oscars earlier this month. Ryan Coogler, who was the director of Sinners, won and actually pointed us out in his acceptance speech. He says, "Please sit down because I'm very nervous and they're going to play me off. I grew up in Oakland and Richmond, California, and we can talk a lot." So I got to give mad props for the fact that I think that that's the first time that Richmond has ever been mentioned in the Oscars.
That's cool. Marty.
Woohoo!
Well, I also feel the same way about the mom and pop. Really sad, sad, sad. And I've been talking to Kelly about joining the the Point Richmond Gallery in some way or another. And we're talking about having her come and do her printing out of the gallery and help out. So she's probably got a lot of things she's going to be doing, but that's one thing.
Yeah, and I've been sharing some ideas for sort of cooperative little funky spaces. She does want to stay around a little, but she does have the other income sources and a kid, and it's a lot, but we'll all miss her. Well, I'm grateful for all of you for attending, as I always am. We're at the end of the month. I think it's the 29th next month with bike lanes. And Eric will be conducting that meeting because I will be on a cruise ship. Not an unusual activity for me, but I will be there as a passenger, which will be a nice change. So I think that hopefully we'll see you on Spring Fling on Saturday. And then on April 11th, we'll send out a notice for Caesars District 2 meeting at the community center. Y'all have a good night. Stay dry if you live on Washington or Nickel, the Washington River. I think it may be handled by now. And y'all have a good night. We'll see you soon, and we'll see you on Saturday. Bye-bye.
And as a note, please, if you are a member of the board of directors, please stay on the call.